Hey, Jim Toscano here with Rhythm Magazine, and today I am interviewing and speaking with, it's not so much an interview as a hang, I feel like, with the great David Garibaldi, and we're going to be talking tech and drum tech and everything involved with the shutdown and trying to get our gear together. So welcome, David Garibaldi.
Thank you, sir. A pleasure to be here. I
You
can't
know,
believe
you,
I'm even doing this.
I know. So let me just step back to when we first met. So it's been quite a while now. We've been talking on a pretty regular basis,
Yeah,
and I can't remember when did we first start talking. Was that sort of early in the COVID shutdown?
it was pretty early on. So I had seen you on one of the Sabian Educational Network things. You were describing your technology and you know that kind of thing. It was with a bunch of teachers. You guys had different setups and things like that. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
And Dave Weckl told me, told me that I should contact you. Dom Famolaro told me I should contact you because I was seeing lots of people. I was asking everybody what I could do to have video capability and recording capability in my studio, and everyone had a different way in which they were doing. Everybody was really nice, very helpful, explained to me what they had, but you talk to the next person and there wasn't any uniformity in it. It was very, very different. Everyone had different things. Some guys were mic'd, some guys were not mic'd, some guys had cameras, super cameras, little cameras, all kinds of different stuff that was working for them, right? And it got to be multiple centers of reference, multiple confusion. I was so confused, really blowing my mind how confused I was. And I'm not a kind of person that gets confused easily. But our meeting, and it just kind of everything started to come together because you have a really great knowledge of all things digital. Plus, you can play, so you have a really good mix of everything. And I think it worked. It just worked well. It's
And
still on the entry level, though. I mean, this is still pretty pedestrian, as we were kind of joking about a little while ago. It's a fluid situation.
Yes, it is. Yeah, indeed. And actually, the technology keeps changing. I have new gear coming in all the time that I'm testing and making sure that I can present it to somebody in their workflow. So now you were doing 20 years of touring. So were you teaching private lessons online ever before that, or is this completely a new territory for you?
This is all new. I would I refrained from doing anything online because I really like the one-on-one thing. I would have them come into my studio here, my tiny little space. And so
Yeah.
this now, the cool thing about it is I have students now from all over the place. I mean, all over the world, Australia, Europe, I mean, everywhere. And it's been kind of neat, kind of being able to reach people on that level. And I'm just getting started. I haven't advertised. I haven't done anything like that. But I'm learning how to do it. So I imagine at some point I'll have more students and I'll have it more streamlined and that kind of thing. So I'm still, figuring out the best way to deliver what I do to people and, have an interaction that works for them, for the, when they work with me.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the technology really is just a tool to provide a better experience for the
Yes.
people that we're reaching.
Yes, that's
And
the thing too, is even my pedestrian level technology in here, which, actually looks pretty good, sounds pretty good.
the raw material was there. So you have the right computer, and you already had a USB mixer and the Yamaha EAD10, right?
Yes.
And Zoom had sent you some cameras. So you actually had a lot of your gear.
Yeah. I
So
just
it
didn't know how
really,
to put it together. I didn't have I really didn't understand how to get it all to talk to each other.
so the first thing I'm just wondering, what was, besides the technology, what do you feel was the biggest challenge suddenly working in a completely virtual environment?
Well, nobody's there but you. you know, it's I've been doing these master classes, and when I first started doing them, the very first one I did was for Gear Fest. So they gave me the option of pre-recording or doing it live. So I pre-recorded my sessions. I did 3 performance videos, and then a teaching segment. And they put it all together into a nice thing, and it worked really well. Then after that, it was, I think, the drum fantasy camp for Steve Orkin. So I did 2 of those, 2 days back to back, and it was 6 hours, 3 hours each day. And so I had to come up with a curriculum. He introduces you, and then there's silence.
Yep.
Because everybody's on mute, right? You have the gallery view on your computer. You can see everybody's there. You got all these faces sitting there watching you, right? And it's silent. And for 3 hours, you have to deliver. So it was really a challenge. I think that's the biggest challenge, is that there's no one there to give you the immediate feedback, right? It's like Tower Power. We did a Labor Day weekend. We did a show, one of those drive-in kind of shows at the Ventura County Fairgrounds, Southern California. And so nobody's clapping. They're honking their horns. I mean, it was so weird, you know? I mean, but that's the reality of things the way they are now. You have to adjust. You have to learn how to get your content out there in a whole different kind of environment that is way less interactive, right? So you have to really have a good focus, a good conception of what it is that you're trying to do.
How would you describe kind of your workflow change? So, you know, as when you get set up for lessons for the day, you know, different than when you were waiting for students to come walking in the door. How is that workflow for you?
Well, now I just come in and turn everything on.
Right.
You know, turn the cameras on, you know, turn the recorder, the switcher, you know, Zoom, and that's pretty much it. I mean, it's up and running. And
how about material? Like if you have any books that you're referencing, do you do anything special to present the material?
Well, one thing I do is kind of maybe a little different than people expect at times, is I work with I have a notebook that I keep things going in. It's literally, you know, a binder that it's like a musical diary, and I keep my notes in it. And so I work with people to start one of those. And the lesson is 10 ideas of your own, which is really unnerving for people because everybody's used to working out of books, right?
Right.
And the books are okay, but don't let school get in the way of your education, like Mark Twain says.
Yeah.
The writing the things down and coming up with your own ideas changes all of that, because then you have to think about, well, what it is that I want to play and work out here. And then the assignment is 10 ideas, and then I want you to write those out in as much detail as possible, send them to me, and when we get together again, you teach those things to me. What are you thinking? What is it that you're trying to put together here? Show me. Explain it to me. And it's really, really great. It has worked really well. It puts people in a position of where, wow, I can do this. I can create, because that's really how you learn. And so that's kind of what all of this technology that we're doing has made it easier for me to have that happen with the student. I don't know how you could do it otherwise. You know, you kind of have to make it as live and as present feeling as you can. The thing with a FaceTime camera is that it's for a telephone call, or, you know, talking to your mom or something, you know.
Right.
It's not for this. What you see here, this is for this. This is lesson kind of environment, developing that environment so you can have creative sessions, you know, creative teaching sessions that are relaxed and interactive.
Now, what would you say would be one positive, you know, whatever that is, that has come out of being in a lockdown, being in the COVID situation, being forced to suddenly be in a virtual teaching environment? What's the one positive you can draw on?
It challenges you, which I think is the only way that you really grow, is if you're in pretty deep water. And so I've always loved teaching. I've always taught. I've always had a lot of students. Um, I've always admired teachers in the same way that I admired players. I wanted to be a teacher and a player. I wanted to do both of those things. I wanted to play at the highest level I could. I wanted to teach at the highest level that I could. And so having this situation here where you can't interact with people, one-on-one really in the way that you're used to, it puts you, it kind of makes you have to think, how can I do this, right? And it's stressful because it's a completely unknown territory for me and for most guys, I think,
Yeah.
as I've told you. I want a plug and play sort of a situation. I don't want to be worried about ISO settings and, LEDs flashing everywhere. I don't want that, because that's not me. I want to have this environment, understand enough about it so that I don't have to be calling you every week with these 911 calls. Help, my switcher's not switching. I want to understand it, so it needs to be simple enough so that I can do that. And I believe that's where we're headed with this,
Yeah. We kind of modeled a little bit of my setup in your setup, being that we brought in a switcher so we could do multiple cameras, but we kept it pretty simple on the audio side. So you're using the EAD10
Yes.
from Yamaha. So you're one out of 4 guys maybe that I have using that at this point. And I think when I started working with you, it was just really you and Dave Stanhope using the EAD10 in a virtual teaching situation. So how do you like using the EAD10? Does that seem to really work for the teaching setup? I mean, I know the answers to this, but I just want you to sort of elaborate on it a little bit.
I think it works really good. It's a cool sound enhancement. It works really well for this kind of situation. I mean, I don't have close miking on everything. I just have the EAD, module attached to my bass drum. It has 2 things. It has a trigger and a mic. It's some kind of configuration like this inside. Yeah. So the trigger adjusts the bass drum volume. The mic adjusts everything above it, And it's a pretty simple thing. You could add triggers to it, but it does an incredible amount of stuff. You can record with it. You can do all kinds of different cool stuff, which I'm not even exploring yet. I'm just using it as an enhancement to my drum sound. And
Is it running right now? Do you have everything up and running?
Yeah, it's running.
Let's hear the kit a little bit just to check out how that sounds.
Can you hear all that stuff?
Yeah. Super crisp and clear. So why don't we, just for the readers, I think they would be really interested, just if you could give kind of a behind the scenes, just description of your tech setup that we've worked on together.
Okay.
And let's just kind of just pointing, I guess, to the stuff that's in the background there of what all these different components are in your setup.
Yeah, you're going to have to help me with all of this.
That's fine.
If I get lost. So this is basically just a Yamaha 12-channel mixer. This is an MG12XU. It has USB capability in it. A fabulous mixer. And so I have everything kind of running into this, right? So here's my drum machine, my trusty Yamaha RY30, which I use a lot. Here's the Blackmagic Video Assist, which has all the recording capabilities in it, which is actually a really cool little piece of gear
Yeah.
because this has all the picture-in-picture, that has audio coming from the EAD is going in here. It's pretty cool. The video switcher, the Roland video switcher, it kind of gives me, all these different capabilities, so I can have, let's see if I can do this. Yeah, there you go. So
There it is. Picture in picture with the feet. Great.
picture in picture with got the, the cool, foot thing. You get to see my footwear, and then I can do this, and all kinds of different ways to, to blend the picture, which is kind of cool. It's all running. I have two Zoom Q2N 4K cameras. They look about the size of a clenched fist. Pretty powerful, small little cameras.
Yeah.
I have one here that you're looking at, then the foot cam. All of that's running into my Mac laptop, which when I do video, I do audio here in my laptop as well. Not necessary, but I do it because I want some sort of extra little audio thing to go with the video.
Yep.
And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, indeed. And as you've realized, and I have definitely put some time in, that it's not an overnight process. It takes time and patience. And
That's the stressful part, is it just takes a long time, because this is all areas that I knew nothing about, right? And here I'm working with Rob Wallace at Hudson. Oh yeah, man, we're going to make videos. Really? We are. And so it's it's been painstaking effort to get videos. I have a few videos done now. They actually are pretty good.
Yeah.
But you do a video, you realize that something is missing or you want something to be better, right? So in that process of wanting to make it better, you have to wait so that you can get more technology, more cables, right? And it's this thing that just kind of, pretty soon I'll be able to come in here and just shoot video and not have to worry about all of this extra things,
I'm going to mention something that you said that I think is one of the greatest things to come out of the COVID thing, or the lockdown, let's say, is that you meet with a bunch of drummers on Zoom. We have access to anybody, anywhere in the world, at any time, basically, if they're awake. And so you meet with a bunch of guys, like a regular Zoom.
You're talking about the stick people.
Yeah.
Oh, the stick people, yeah. We started doing it in April. It's Mike Clark, Michael Shreve, Lenny White, and Greg Rico. And so those guys we met in the Bay Area in 1970, 71, right in there. And Mike Clark was one of the first guys. Actually, he probably was the first guy I met, him and Paul Jackson, right after I got out of the military and came back home to start, getting involved in music again. And we met right away, became pals, and we've been pals ever since. I got the gig with Tower. He got his gig with Herbie Hancock. And then Greg, Greg Rico, Sly, come on, Sly Stone, Sly Family Stone, all that stuff. And Michael Shreve. Michael, was a member of the Santana band. Of course, you can see him in Woodstock.
Yeah.
And, that great performance. And they took us on tour, one of the first bands to take us, give us national exposure. Them and Creedence Clearwater, we toured with those people, So I lived at Michael's house, Then Lenny came out from New York to play with Azteca and a bunch of other, things that he was doing out here. He was producing people. He got involved with a lot of the things that was going on here. And, we loved him. He loved us. And it was just, him being here was so cool. And it was just a great time to be in the Bay Area. It was so creative, and those are relationships that we've kind of kept for all these years. And then with this COVID deal, I think it was Mike Clark that suggested that we get together and talk about something. I can't remember exactly what it was. There was an interview that happened or something. And pretty soon, we're meeting 3 times a week, and it's therapeutic. We're talking about making pizzas. We're talking about technology. We're talking about touring. We're talking about politics. We have guests. We haven't even hardly got the thing started yet. We're trying to figure out a way to produce it so that it's, something that we can reach a lot of people with. But it's amazing. We got all this recorded cool content. They're just super guys, and we meet 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Amazing.
Yeah, the stick people. We call ourselves the stick people.
So I would say that is definitely one of the positives to come out of this whole thing.
Oh, outstanding. Yeah, look forward to it. We text each other all the time. We, send each other videos and food porn and all kind of crazy little stuff, It's really it's fantastic, Great guys.
Yeah. That's amazing.
And historical. Each guy played in historical musical situations. Did you know that, and I like to tell this because it's a cool fact, is that Bitches Brew, Miles Davis' Bitches Brew, was recorded 24 hours after Woodstock.
Wow. Let me ask you, what do you think, for the future of drum education? Do you think this new normal that we're in right now is going to become sort of the cornerstone of drum education? Or do you think that we're going to wind up with a blend of this, like the old way and the new way?
Well, it has to be a blend because eventually the music world will come back to some sort of semblance of order. There'll be some live concerts going on. I don't know what the touring thing is going to be like. That could, that's really been impacted because, myself and all the people that I know, that do this kind of thing, they're all sitting at home.
Yeah.
They're all doing Zoom. They're all Zooming. They're all teaching. They're all writing books and doing things that they never did before, which is a really good thing in that way. So when it all starts to come back around to some sort of normalcy, it's going to have a flavor of all of this.
Yeah.
It has to. It has to, because this is all very powerful. It's just right now because of, the pandemic, it's one-dimensional.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I think you're onto something too, in that it's going to be an interesting balance of things for people, because people are getting to do things that they've probably put off for a long time.
Yeah.
Suddenly, all you have is time. And so, yeah, people are writing books that maybe they've been meaning to get to, or learning all of this technology is something that people probably never thought of doing. But you're right, when things open up again, maybe there'll be more of a balance in people's lives where it's not just touring all the time, but perhaps a blend of being able to do this and the touring. Wow.
There's, a lot of guys that I know don't teach.
Right.
They've never taught. But there are people that are studied by others. So
right.
Now that things are the way they are, you want to do what you can to make yourself employable.
Right.
And it will be in front of you. Everybody's situation is different. If you do what's in front of you, like we're doing what's in front of us, we have plenty to do.
That is correct. Yeah, it's really incredible. So, where can people find you if they want to perhaps take a drum lesson with you or follow everything that David Garibaldi is up to? So where can our readers find you?
Well, absolutely. Kind of like right now, I'm not doing this on a large scale. So I'm not advertising this.
Got it.
And I don't want to just yet, because I'm not really prepared for large scale stuff. And I know that if I was to, to do that, if I was to say on Facebook or Instagram that I'm accepting students and put the word out there, that there would probably, I would be overwhelmed with, requests.
You better hire a secretary if that happens.
Okay, yeah. So you know, the way that it is right now, it's kind of like if you know somebody that's working with me, that's how you get in for the moment.
All right. Well, it's been a great hang. I'll talk to you probably later today. And
Yeah, yeah, one of those 911 calls, right?